In the year 2023, in a remote part of Nevada, I was driving my truck along a dusty road. I had been on the road for hours, and I was looking forward to reaching my destination and getting some rest. I enjoyed my job as a truck driver, but it was also lonely and tiring. As I passed by a deserted gas station, I saw something that caught my attention. It was a figure lying on the side of the road, almost invisible in the dim light of the solar landscape. I slowed down and pulled over, both curious and worried. I got out of the truck and approached the person, who turned out to be a young woman. She was wearing a torn dress and had bruises and cuts all over her body. She looked up at me with a weak smile and said,
"Please help me."
I felt a surge of compassion and pity for her. I wonder what happened to her, and who put her in such a state. I asked her if she needed any medical attention, but she shook her head and said she just wanted to get out of there. I offered her a ride, and she happily accepted. I helped her into this truck and gave her a bottle of water and a blanket. I asked her name, and she said Alice. I kept driving, feeling good about myself for helping someone in need. I tried to make small talk with Alice, but she was mostly silent and distant. She just answers briefly or nods politely. I think she was hurt by something that happened to her and decided not to push her too much. I think I'll take her to the next town and maybe find her a shelter or a hotel. After an hour of driving, I noticed Alice was acting strange. She was fiddling with something in her hand, and she kept looking at me with a strange expression. I asked her if she was okay, but she didn't answer. She just stared at me with a strange smile. I felt a chill run down my spine. I looked at her hand and saw she was holding a knife. I panicked and stepped on the brake. I quickly unbuckled his seatbelt and opened the door. I jumped out of the truck and ran across the street. Alice followed me, still holding the knife. She shouted at me.
"You can't leave me! You're mine now! I'll kill you if you do try to run away!"
The woman rushed after me, and no one knew what she would do when she caught up. But luckily, I escaped and called the police. Within minutes, the police arrived and arrested Alice. She was later discovered to be a runaway who had escaped from a mental institution. She had a history of violence and was diagnosed with a severe mental illness. I was shocked by the incident, but he was also very grateful to live. I realized that I was putting myself in danger by offering to help a stranger without having her help or knowing anything about her. I have learned that it is important to be cautious and aware of the risks when helping others.
About 5 years ago, I had a wedding that I was invited to that was about a 17-hour drive away. I wanted to save some money, so I decided to drive there instead of flying. At first, my goal was to drive there all in one day, but as I got down there about 14 hours in, I became so sleepy that I couldn't keep going. I knew it would be dangerous for me to try to push through, so I stopped at the next sign I saw for a rest stop. I had no idea where I really was, but it seemed like a very quiet area. When I pulled into the rest stop, I was the only one there. It was dimly lit and had one small building with a bathroom, a few vending machines, and some information flyers. When I stopped, I looked at my phone quickly for hotels, but there weren't really any in the immediate area. The closest one was a 20-minute drive away, and I was so tired I could barely keep my eyes open to look at my phone, so I knew I wouldn't make it. I went inside the rest stop and used the bathroom, and then got back in my car and put the seats back. As soon as I did, I immediately fell asleep. I normally wouldn't like sleeping in my car, and I would think it was too uncomfortable, but that's just how tired I was at the time. I was fast asleep until I woke up to something in the middle of the night. I was half asleep, but I thought I heard something. Then I heard it again. It was the sound of somebody trying to open my driver's side door. I moved my chair from laying back to an upright position and looked out the window. I didn't see anything other than the empty parking lot. I had to admit, though, I was a little freaked out. I thought maybe I was imagining things. I sat there for a while longer, but didn't seem to see or hear anybody. So then I lay back down and tried to fall asleep again. But after a few minutes, I just had a creepy feeling and couldn't really sleep at all. I looked at my phone and saw that it was 5 o'clock in the morning. I decided I would go into the rest stop and get something to drink. Then I would just finish off the drive. I got out of my car and walked inside. They had a coffee vending machine in there, so I got some and then went back to my car. But as I stepped out of the rest stop and saw my car, I could barely see what appeared to be someone hiding underneath the bottom of it. It was dark, but I saw an arm move from behind my tire underneath my car. I went all the way back into the bathroom and locked myself in one of the stalls. There was no other cars in the parking lot, and nobody was inside the rest stop either, which made it all the more creepy. I hoped to wait there for a little while, and maybe the person would leave. The more I sat there and thought about it, the more scared I got. Then I heard the door to the rest stop open and somebody walk in. My heart sank. I picked up my feet off the floor in the bathroom in case whoever it was came inside. I heard them walk around for a bit before getting closer and finally entering the bathroom. As they did, I felt as scared as I ever had been in my life. I quietly grabbed the door to the bathroom stall from the inside. I held it tight as the person walked a little ways into the bathroom and past my stall to the other ones. Then I heard them start to get on the floor. I figured they were going to look underneath all the stalls to see which one I was in. I decided I needed to make a run for it right then and there. I opened the door as fast as I could and ran out. As soon as I did, I heard them start to get up and chase after me. I made it out of the building and began running for my car. When I was running, I heard the sound of a man screaming in a way that sounded completely insane. I ran back to my car and swung the door open as fast as I could. Then I got inside and locked it. I started the engine and sped away as I saw the man running for me. He looked angry and possibly dangerous. I was able to get away, but that was probably the scariest moment of my life. It was November. All the leaves were varying shades of yellow and orange, my favorite time of year to visit the countryside. I was with my girlfriend at her dad's upstate home, which was usually used as a summer home. But the two of us came up there to go camping in the nearby woods. The home had all the needed camping supplies, including the tent, so we parked there and took the camping stuff into the woods. Why just the experience of camping and sleeping in the woods, I guess? I've only been camping a few times in my life, but I liked camping in the fall because there's less bugs and of course, you can't beat the foliage. We were camped out in a small circular clearing, just big enough for our tent and campfire. We sat around the fire for about an hour, eating and just talking. Then we went inside the tent. We kept the fire going as it made my girlfriend feel safer, and it added a bit of warmth. Besides the sound of the crackling fire, we eventually started hearing leaves crunching in the distance. My girlfriend and I looked at each other. She put her finger up to her lip. I could tell she was nervous. Fires usually repel wildly from approaching, so as the crunching of the leaves got louder, it got more suspicious. The footsteps also sounded bipedal, like humans' footsteps. The crunches got louder until they stopped around the fire. Then we noticed the shadow outline of someone standing out there, and then they sat down in one of the chairs. But they didn't say a word, so I finally decided I was going to peek my head out and chuck. I looked out to the campfire, expecting to see someone sitting on one of the chairs. But there was no one out there. I got up on my legs to look around the campsite, into the trees and darkness. I didn't see anyone out there. My girlfriend was whispering something. It sounded like she was urgently trying to get my attention. So I crawled back inside. What does he want? There's no one there. What are you talking about? I see him in the chair right now. I looked at the wall of the tent and saw the shadow outline of the person still sitting in the chair by the fire. I realized that was impossible though. I crawled back out of the tent to look one more time and both the chairs were still empty. I went back inside and said to my girlfriend, "We need to go right now." She didn't ask questions. I got straight up, took my hand, and followed me out of the tent. When she saw there was no one sitting in the chair, she screamed. I yelled at her to shut up, and I led us through the near-total darkness and the direction back to the mobile home. While running, we heard this horrible, groaning sound not too far away from us, and one single, loud crash of a tree branch or something. This caused both of us to scream and run even faster. How we found the property was by repeatedly pressing the car lock button until we finally heard the car horn. We went into the mobile home, locked the door, and hid under the covers and the safety of the bedroom. Still, I didn't feel entirely safe being surrounded by nothing but woods in every direction, and I was paranoid that whatever was out there followed us. I let my girlfriend sleep while I stayed up listening for sounds. I thought I heard a clicking or something from the front door to the home, but that might have been my paranoia playing tricks on me. I fell asleep eventually, and when we woke up, we went back for the tent and supplies, scared shitless while doing so. Nothing was moved except for the one chair we thought we saw the shadow sitting in. It was knocked over. We hurried back to the car, drove home, and that was our last camping adventure.